You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reactions.
Hello, we're live. Just gone 5:05, a couple minutes after 5. We had a couple of technical errors, as I say, but we're live on a Friday night. Joined by Robbie and Reagan. How are you, Reagan?
Doing well, Michael. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, not bad. It's been I was going to say it's been a quiet week in Scottish football, but it's been the opposite. I mean, basically,
I don't think there's ever a quiet week, Michael.
no, exactly. And I was ready to go to my bed on Monday night, and we had to do a show because Brendan Rodgers is a thing from Celtic. We'll kind of get into that in a minute or two. Obviously, it's a big cup weekend and a big weekend in the Premiership, and also a big game tonight in the Championship. Ayr United against Dunfermline. I'm looking forward to this one, Reagan, because it's Neil Lennon against Scott Brown. So all the makings there of a feisty encounter, as I say. Get your comments coming in, and you can tell us who you think would be in the final for this weekend after the games take place tomorrow night and Sunday. Reagan, yeah, it's always been a quiet week in Scottish football. Yep, but also it's been I think me and you were here on Friday and we were previewing the Celtic and Hearts game at the weekend. Who knew Celtic would get beat? But on Monday, Brendan Rodgers resigned from Celtic, and also I was back to my youth days at school because in comes Martin O'Neill.
Yeah, I mean, Michael, it's been crazy times at Celtic, but that's why we're here. That's why we're here to talk about it, and I'm looking forward to it, mate.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's been a crazy week in Scottish football because obviously Brendan Rodgers resigned. Danny Rowe, before you get in before me, Reagan, he's got a roll with it. He won 3 games on the bounce and he's going into this cup game in a bit of form, you would say.
Yes, Danny Rowe's done a good job so far, and obviously the Rangers fans will be pretty happy. And I think in general, Michael, I think you can't really argue with what he's done so far.
Yeah, no, exactly. So that game is on Sunday. The first of the 2 semi-finals take place tomorrow evening at Hampden Park. Murrow against Johnson, against Mirren. So that's my first slip up of the show, and we'll be hopefully joined by Robbie, our resident St Mirren fan, and he'll get us his take on the game and his predictions as well. First of all, Reagan, I know you were on Wednesday night. I was at the Celtic game on Wednesday night, watching it under Martin O'Neill. Of course, that was about weird to see. But what do you make of the Celtic performance on Wednesday night?
I thought Celtic done very well, and I think in general, I thought Celtic would move the ball fast, pretty forward, and they showed that the mentality. So I think in general, Celtic fans will be pretty happy going into this. But I'm interested to get you and Robbie's take on. I mean, do you play Johnny Kenny? Do you play Maeda up top? Because Celtic right now have only got 2 recognised strikers.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I thought John Kenny had put in a good shift on Wednesday night as well. Maybe they scored a hat trick, but it's amazing when a new manager comes in, Robbie. It's old you know, the old bounce effect. And I think Martin and Neil done that on Wednesday night. In fact, I don't know if you guys saw it on social media when Celtic released the team sheet on Wednesday night. It was funny because they had like Chris Sutton in the team and Henrik Larsson as well. I thought that was quite funny.
Yeah, I did see that, Michael, and it was actually taking me back in a bit of time. Obviously, I'm not quite as old as you to remember every
Yeah.
every player by the book and stuff like that. But I mean, some of the memories that he gave to Celtic fans back then, Michael. I mean, he must have gave you a lot of memories because you would have been a boy then.
Yeah, no, I'm still a boy, Reagan. But yeah, I know
No,
what
you're
you mean.
not. No, you're not, Michael.
But yeah, I kind
Don't
of
take
forget.
yourself on.
I kind of forget, Robbie. Like all with all the people, all the guys in the show, I must be one of the oldest people on the show. Well, obviously apart from Alaska, you know. But say, well, I can say if I want. He's in London tonight, so you know. But
Who's in London?
what's that?
Who's in London?
Alaska, so I can say what I want
Oh,
about Winston at a still game and all that. But no, yeah, I mean Celtic got the 3 points in Wednesday night and on to Sunday's game against Rangers. What about St Mirren during the week, Robbie?
Aye, first of all, I hope you are doing well. And just on the Celtic thing, I didn't think I'd be on the show on Halloween and Martin O'Neill would be the Celtic manager and Danny Rowe would be the Rangers manager. It's a bit bizarre to say the least, but no, I thought Celtic handled themselves brilliantly. Midweek, I thought we did as well. Probably a bit unlucky not to come away with 3 points, if you can call it that. I thought, again, it was another horrific VAR decision and refereeing decision. And I just sort of took the momentum at the game. I thought we were controlling it brilliant. If it goes 3-1, let's be honest, I don't think Hearts are getting back into the game. So it's one of the moments again where it's probably cost us 2 points, which I'm a bit more aggrieved by than, you know, taking the draw. And, you know, it should be said we have just lost the last 3. We should take the positives, but, you know, the performances have been good. We've just not got the results. So not to come away with 3 points probably stings a wee bit more than coming away with a point, to be honest.
Let's speak about the game then, Robbie. You're all excited. I was winding you up all day, but I had a point. You know, I said that you're looking forward to the biggest game of the weekend, and obviously you came back at me with Motherwell and St Mirren, and I was at no, it's Ayr United against Confirming tonight in the Championship. So, what's your thoughts going into the game, Robbie?
I'm a wee bit nervous, I'll be honest. I think Motherwell have a lot of good players, obviously picked up a good win midweek as well against Dundee United. I think more on our side, I just hope Robinson makes changes. I think Donnelly for me needs to come in for maybe Keanu Bacchus in the midfield. And, you know, that's no disrespect to Keanu, he's a brilliant player, but he's just not been at it the last few weeks. So I'm hoping Robinson makes a few changes to the way we play. Obviously, it'll be a very difficult game. Both teams will be up for it. And I'm overall just excited, guys. I cannot wait to be at Hampden. First ever time watching my club in person at Hampden. Obviously, last time fans were there 12 years ago when we won it. So hopefully we can maybe let history repeat itself and try and go for it again.
Yeah. Sorry, Mike.
On you go, Regan. Yeah.
No, I was just going to say, Robbie, I mean, I don't think you could really be going into this in better shape. You probably should have been the best team in Scotland. If you look at the table at the moment, Robbie, and I think that sets you up perfectly for this match.
It does, plus the addition of having Alex Gogic and Jayden Richardson back for the suspensions. We're obviously going to have Robinson in the dugout on Saturday tomorrow as well. So everything leads in a really positive direction. I just hope we can go there and put a performance on the park. I remember the last time we played at Hampden, didn't particularly go well in either semi-final against Livingston, St Johnstone. So I'm kind of hoping we can make up for that one with the fans there. And by the way, huge credit to both clubs, over 8,000 sold each. So it's going to be some atmosphere tomorrow as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. I mean, we'll talk about Motherwell first, but I think it would be a bit ignorant if you get a St Mirren fan on and you don't talk about St Mirren. But I mean, you're kind of in a good run of form at the moment as well. I mean, Stephen Robertson can do no more. Maybe I should have saved that question until after the game. But I mean, it's did well over the past couple of years. Got you into Europe. Got top six. Is it twice? And a good run in the cup. And obviously tomorrow night you're only kind of 90 minutes away from either facing Celtic and Rangers in the final.
Yeah, 3 back-to-back top sixes now, which is just incredible for St Mirren. You're right. The only thing Robinson's yet today, and it was funny. I'll never forget the wee joke he made to me when I interviewed him in the United game. I was like, right, Stephen, you know the one thing you've not delivered yet to the fans is a Hampden trip. Are you prepared to try and do it this season? He just went, "I don't remind me." But seriously, I'm glad he scored it. The only thing really missing now is a piece of silverware, to be honest, and it's something, look, I understand it's no easy to win silverware as a manager, so it's nothing you're ever going to hold the head of Robinson, really. But this does feel different. This feels like if we're going to do it, it's going to be this time, and it's absolutely no disrespect to Celtic and Rangers, but I think the way some of the way it's going for both clubs, the way they're maybe a bit disjointed right now. I know it's sort of getting back on track a wee bit now, but we've seen obviously Rangers under Danny Rowe, they look a bit better, but if we're going to do it, this is going to be the time. I think this is a season where shocks really can happen. And by the way, if it isn't to be us that got through tomorrow and it is Motherwell, then they've got just as good a chance as us to go and win the cup as well. So it's a really big semi-final because either team know they've got a pretty decent chance if we get to this final. And I just hope the game lives up to expectations as well.
I mean, Stephen Robertson, I'm not going to say this because you're on the show, Robbie, but I'm quite impressed with him because he speaks well to the media. But he had his press conference yesterday and it was saying that we've got to go to Hampden and play with no fear and enjoy it, and hopefully it's a good opportunity to get to the final. But have no fear. I mean that's quite important because there's a lot of the St Mirren guys, especially Mark Haran, players like that has never played at Hampden before. Okay, they play at European kind of like level, but this is a kind of like totally different kettle of fish going to Hampden and a major semi-final.
I was actually reading Miguel Freckleton's presser that he done as well, and unfortunately, I think that's going to be a last-minute decision whether he can actually play or not, which I'm kind of disappointed about because he's been a really, really good player this season. But someone like him, for example, I think he's made it clear he's never played in a stadium this big, so it's a really big game for the likes of him. You've also got the two Jamaican players, King and Calvin, that have never probably played in a stadium this big either. It's going to be a real big test of character, and I just hope we relish it. And look, we've faced a lot of challenges under Robinson, the players. You spoke about the European trips. We've went to Ibrox and got results. We've played really well at Celtic Park. We've just went toe to toe with top of the league that haven't lost a league game all year. Probably should have beat them. At every challenge that are set in our way, even when we've been probably, we just lost 3 in a row before that Hearts game. So if you're looking at it from that standpoint, every time there's a big challenge ahead of us, we go and smash it. So I'm hoping we can do the same tomorrow as well.
I think as well, Regan, for, as I say, a lot of the St Mirren players, the pressure is off, but let's hope for Robbie's sake that Caden doesn't get the better of them.
Yeah, because they're playing well, and I think that's a good point you make. Hopefully the players go out and show their true potential rather than freezing on the big stage, because that's what that is tend to what's to happen to these clubs, and hopefully for St Mirren's point of view, they will do very well. But I think overall, I think we can say this is going to be a very close match, because I think Motherwell are playing well, but so are St Mirren. And obviously, Robbie, as you'll know, Stephen Robinson managed to get Motherwell into the final as well, when they played Brendan Rodgers Celtic in the final.
Aye, twice as well, and then finished third that season. So, Robinson's got, he's personally got the Hampden experience. It's not as if we're getting into it with complete inexperience. Robinson will know what to take to this game. Of course, it's a lot of our club's former team. Robinson, Brian Kerr, I believe, used to be Motherwell. Obviously, Keith Lasley used to be with Motherwell as well. So, it's kind of that thing where I hope we can come back and, the former players and stuff like that come back to haunt them. But it will be a close game, Reagan. You're right. This isn't it. I don't think this is going to be either team run away with it, to be honest. It just has that type of feeling to it. I could really see this going to extra time, actually, and even maybe penalties. But it's going to be an interesting game. I'm excited to see the team sheets for both sides when they commit tomorrow.
I was just going to ask you, Robbie, as well, that because St Mirren's used to playing on a very tight park at home as well. I mean, how much of a difference would it be to playing on that wide Hampden Park tomorrow?
Aye, I think in terms of the actual pitch, I've said this to a few people during the week. A few Motherwell fans have been making that point, and I agree in terms of the way the stadium is and how far away the fans are for the pitch. It's going to be very different to playing down at St Mirren Park. But in terms of the actual pitch itself, it's only about 50 centimetres wider and longer, so there's no actually too much difference in terms of the way that the game's going to be played. I do think, though, where the fans are seated and how far away they are for the pitch, of course, that makes a difference. And look, we're under no illusion, it's not going to be a sold-out Hampden exactly, I think about 8,000 for each side, but it will still be a really good atmosphere, and I hope the game delivers as well. It's a late-ish kickoff, 5:30. I know I think Hampden have said there's going to be a light show before the game, so can't wait to see that. But overall, it should be a brilliant day, and I really do think whoever wins this game has a really, really good chance in the final.
Yeah, I know that we are big advocates on the show, Reagan, and everybody else about showing different teams on Premier Sport and stuff like that. But I think this is a prime time for clubs outside of the kind of big two in Glasgow, basically, just to put on a show.
Yeah, I think it is. I think St Mirren and Motherwell are both showing a very good teams. I think I'm just sad tomorrow, Michael, that I'm going to be missing that game. But yeah, I think in general, I think these two teams have shown that they're very good teams. Because you look at that St Mirren team, they always seem to do well against Celtic. They always seem to do well against Rangers. And see, when they play against these teams, Robbie, you know yourself, a lot of people talk about the Rangers and Celtic are not playing well, but St Mirren play brilliant football as well.
Aye, I'm glad somebody said it, because if you ask Chris Sutton, he'll probably tell you that we just play hoofball straight up to the strikers. But no, I think we play some good stuff, and look, I know Motherwell play some fantastic football as well. Of course, there's negatives to the way Motherwell play, and I hope we can try and exploit them as best as possible using a guy, perfect example, Dan Lundula, who's just been absolutely brilliant so far. Of course, scored against Hearts. I don't know if you've seen the goal, an absolute thing of beauty for him. We need to use players like that. We need to be clinical. I don't know if you guys spoke about it last week, but going out to Tannadice and hitting 23 shots and only getting 3 on target's a pretty poor going. You've got to be much more clinical than that. So if we create chances against Motherwell tomorrow, we're going to need to be clinical and hope we can score them, because I do fancy Motherwell to score in this game as well.
And as for Motherwell, Reagan, I'm excited about this game, because obviously they went to Celtic Park the other week. Now they beat Celtic, and obviously they took a point off Rangers early on in the season. And Jans, the new boss at for Park, has got them playing well.
Yeah, he has. He's got them playing good football, and the Motherwell fans, even though they're playing pretty, they're not getting the result, the actual score lines, the football they're watching. Motherwell fans are very happy with what they're seeing so far. So I think in general, I don't think there's too much for Motherwell fans to be grumbling about, to be honest with you, because if you said to any Motherwell fan, what is the most important thing you want to see, and it's and for me, for Motherwell, is it the style of play that they're playing with? The Motherwell fans are really, really enjoying it. Of course, you want to see your team win, but as Robbie said earlier, St Mirren are known for that long ball and stuff like that, and I think it's pretty bad for them that they are, because they play more than football, and I think Motherwell have got this reputation of playing football.
What I would say is, I think there's a caveat to that. I appreciate that every fan and that watches football wants to watch good football. You know, I'm under no illusions that you want to watch the entertaining stuff, and that's why we watch it sometimes. You know, you want to see the sort of best tactics and best style being used. But we'll really need to see how this season goes for Motherwell. You know, it's been a good start. They're picking up a couple of wins in the last 2 games. But, you know, at the end of the day, if it's not getting any rewards, then you don't need to question it at the end of the day. You know, there's only so much good football can get you. That's why I've been so impressed with Robinson, because it's not the nice watching, viewing football that's getting us results and getting us at the table. You know, it's playing that rigid way, you know, frustrating teams, really try to play our positives and try and really frustrate people, and that's what we've been good at. So that, you know, there's a whole balance act. I think it can be a good thing playing that way, and I think Jens has got it gone really, really well right now. But if results don't start, you know, being really consistent, and they don't start pushing up the league, and say by the end of the season they're in the bottom 6, then I think Motherwell fans will probably start getting a wee bit disappointed, to be honest.
Yeah, but I think you're spot on, Robbie, because Motherwell fans are getting so soaked up with this good football. But if they actually don't get the rewards, it's okay playing good football. But if you're then sitting second bottom of the table, then it's not going to wash for the Motherwell fans.
I mean, look at Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. Everybody associates Pep with playing some really good football, but let's be honest, the last couple of years it's not been excellent seasons for City. So you know, I suppose there is counters to it, because as you were saying earlier, Reagan, like, it is really nice to watch and they are picking up results. So everything's positive right now. But if things start turning, then very quickly, you know, the fans won't care what style they're playing. They'll just want to get results.
I don't know you guys, and Robbie might hate me for saying this, and might come back. He might come back to me on Sunday, but I think it'll be a very kind of open game. I think there'll be plenty of goals in this game.
Aye, there you go, Reagan.
I think there will be plenty of goals, but I think also both teams have got players in there that can really defend the box as well. So I think it'll be interesting as well. I think it'll be interesting to see who's on top. I mean, I think the best person to ask is Robbie, but I mean, do you expect Motherwell to dominate the match and then St Mirren to really dominate in terms of the strong players up top, the midfield? Well, I'm just trying to think of Motherwell playing that type of football. Do you expect Robinson to, I don't know, trying to stop Motherwell from playing too much?
I think, you know, anybody that watches the game it'll look much different to the way the stats probably perceive it. Like, Motherwell will more than likely have more of the possession unless they come out the traps and we're just absolutely flying. But if you actually watch the game, Robinson will have his high pressing up the top end of the pitch, try to frustrate the Motherwell defence, try to get on top of them, try to force mistakes like Celtic managed to do at Celtic Park. That's the type I can expect for us anyway. You know, I'm not going to say I've sat and watched Motherwell every game and know exactly how they play, but I suspect that it'll be similar to the game in Paisley. I expect it to be a bit more lively. But I think if you look at the stats after the game, the possession stats in particular will bleed more in the Motherwell side, and they'll look a bit comfy on that. But let's be honest, guys, football's not played on stats. If you watch that game tomorrow, you'll see a completely different game to what the stats allude to. So, it'll be definitely an interesting watch.
All right, guys, time to get your score prediction. By the way, Reagan, Robbie wasn't giving too much away because I kind of said to him today, my prediction, and he says, "No, I'm not revealing anything until the show." That's one rule about journalism: don't give the game away too early, because you might get it completely wrong. Trust me, I've got the T-shirt. So, guys, time for your scores. Let's go. I'll build up in a way that Robbie might be a bit nervous here. So, Reagan.
I think I'll go 2-1 St Mirren.
Oh, right, okay. I need to change my prediction then. I think I've just gave the game away, but I was going to go 2-1 as well. But I might go 3-1 St Mirren. Robbie.
I'd absolutely love either of the scorelines. I'm going to be the unoptimistic fan that's going to go a bit closer. I'm going to go 1 each after full time and extra time.
Ooh.
And I think St Mirren win at 8-7 on penalty.
8-7.
Aye.
Wow. Yeah.
I know. That's how close I think it's going to be. I think it's going to come right down to the wire.
Yeah, well, I knew it was going to be tight, Reagan. I didn't see it going to be that tight, but there you go. So basically, the game might be on till midnight tomorrow night by the time the penalty kicks as well. I remember a game years ago, Reagan, at Hampden. I can't remember. I think it was Celtic and Dundee United, and it was something like 8-7 or 9-8 or whatever. Somebody will tell me in the chat, but like I think the goalkeepers took a penalty kick each as well. Celtic won that one, but so there you go. First semi-final, the Motherwell against St Mirren on Plymouth Sports, because funnily enough it's called the Plymouth Sports Cup. And the second game on Sunday at 2:00, Celtic against Rangers. Now let's talk about Celtic, Reagan, because it's been an interesting week, because last week we spoke about Brendan Rodgers going to Tynecastle. Hearts won the game. Celtic were very disappointing. And then on Monday night, when everybody was going to their bed, including myself, I think it was Ethan at texted us to say Brendan Rodgers has resigned, and I thought, oh right, okay, that yeah. It was on the cards, I felt, but maybe not that soon. What do you think of the week? It's Scottish football.
Yeah, I think it was on the cards, definitely. Yeah, I do feel that in terms of what Celtic were trying to do, Michael, I do think that that obviously after that game last week, Brendan Rodgers feels like Celtic let him down big time. He feels as if that things have not been the way that he was told that it was supposed to be. So I think that in general, I think it's a great thing for both Brendan Rodgers and the board, because as I said the other day, that I do feel like Brendan Rodgers didn't want to be associated with the absolute mess that is Celtic at the moment.
Robbie, looking from outside in, what do you think about what's been going on at Celtic? Not only last week, but maybe since the summer and before.
Crazy. I think's the only word I can use, Michael. That statement genuinely just baffled my brain when I read it. I think that is such a. I've been trying to think all week of the right word. That's such a negative view for Dermot Desmond, and it's a statement that if I was a Celtic fan, I'd be extremely disappointed and frustrated with. I don't think he's covered himself in good light, and I sort of made the point to you guys on the show when you done it that night. I know there will be Celtic managers, there'll be a big line of them waiting to take the job. Of course there will. But if I'm a manager, I'm looking at Dermot Desmond's statement and asking myself, why would I want to be a part of that? Why would I ever want to work under somebody like that? Because that to me is just Dermot trying to fling every single thing Brendan Rodgers has done the last few years, in the bin at Celtic. And I actually think Rodgers has come out of it looking a bit better than anybody at Celtic has, to be honest. So It has been a crazy last week, but the last few months as well. I thought Celtic would have been in a lot better shape by this time. I remember us sitting before the Kairat game thinking, all right, Celtic will get through this and, everything will be fine. But as the sort of months have progressed, it's slowly getting worse. And it's a big game at the weekend, obviously. Team selection's obviously huge. And I think this is one of the situations where you probably look at the Celtic team and think, wow, I can't believe the lack of squad depth we've got going on here for this game. Absolutely zero disrespect to players like Johnny Kenny. Obviously scored 2 against Falkirk, but if you had told Celtic fans you'd be getting into the Premier Sports semi-final with Johnny Kenny as a realistic shout to play up front, they probably would have laughed at you before the season kicked off. So,
Yeah.
it's been a really negative time at Celtic right now. I think one thing I would say though, with the semi-final coming up, you'll need to go out and back the players and back the team for this game. This is when Celtic will need their fans, the players will need their fans behind them, especially with Rangers and the way they're sort of setting it right now.
Regan, are you quite surprised that Brendan Rodgers hasn't come out yet to react to Dermot Desmond's statement?
No, a little bit, Michael, but I think in general, I think Brendan Rodgers has got a little bit more integrity about him. Also, you need to factor in that a lot of the people in the media world and also like to television and radio, when something like this happens, they sign what is called a national disclosure agreement, which means that both of them can't speak about it. So, but I'm just surprised that that statement has gone through the lawyers, because I just feel like it's actually talking about Brendan Rodgers' character a little bit too much. Don't know if you agree with me, but I just feel like it was a little bit slating Brendan Rodgers a little bit too much for me, because at the end of the day, Brendan Rodgers right now is Celtic's modern day greatest ever manager, and to be spoken like that tells me that there's something wrong at the top of the club.
Yeah, I'd completely agree with that. I was actually going to ask you guys, do you think Rodgers would speak out any legal advice on that statement? I thought that was, I don't think many words can describe what that statement was in terms of the way Dermot went on at Brendan. Like, he was out to get Brendan almost, that was like a knockout statement for Dermot. Like, that was probably one of the most bizarre I've ever read coming off a football club. Like, I've never seen anything like that since I've started watching Scottish football.
Yeah, it was crazy, Robbie. I was actually quite disappointed in a football club in Scotland that actually talks about the manager like that. I just found it very, very disappointing.
I think it puts a whole negative outlook on the football club as well. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, we want to hear Brendan's side," and I'm not surprised Brendan's not come out and said it. And why would he? That's a statement to me that indicates that Brendan wants absolutely nothing to do with the club right now. And again, but the point I made earlier, if I'm a manager looking in at Celtic right now, if I'm the Club Brugge manager who's getting such high regards, by the way, when getting linked with the job, and you've got Kieran McKenna, I'd be looking at that job and going, why would I want to work under somebody like that? Why would that be my next step in my career?
Well, that's a good point, like you've made, Bobby, because Regan, I was talking to some people during the week as well, and see if Kieran McKenna or your favourite guy, Craig Berman, who comes in for the job, what will change, Regan?
I don't think a lot will change. I think the real reason that Brendan Rodgers is not here at the moment is because he wasn't backed in the transfer market. And I know I had this topic of conversation with Robbie last week, but I genuinely believe if Brendan Rodgers had another 2 strikers in, maybe possibly one more forward in terms of a winger, then I think he would still be there. But the fact that Celtic are choosing James Forrest as their number 1 winger at the moment shows you exactly where the recruitment strategy of Celtic is as a football club.
Well, I did hear today, guys, I don't know if you saw Chris McCart has left Celtic. That's a quiet one as well. But also, John Kennedy is away as well. But but I felt as though that was a bit unfair because Celtic didn't make a kind of statement to say thanks for his service at the club, Reagan, because he was a good servant to Celtic over the years. And what's that? He's 5 or 6 different managers.
Yeah, I was disappointed with them about that because John Kennedy, okay, Celtic don't need to show John Kennedy sort of too much respect, but they should still make a statement and say thanks to John for everything he's done.
Yeah, Robbie Bizarre but I mean, I'm just thinking about like tit for tat and as well, but I mean, you're not, I'm surprised that one of the biggest clubs in Scotland are basically put their wrongly out there for everybody to see. Surely you would keep a bit in house.
I think it's probably quite amateur for any club to do that, to be honest. Never mind the Celtic. That's something, if I was a Celtic fan, I'd be really, really annoyed with if it was somebody in my club doing that. There's been vocal about a situation, the statement itself, it could have ended after the first 2 paragraphs when it says something like, along the lines of, we thank Brendan for his efforts that he's gave to Celtic. You could have just ended there, and there's absolutely no hassle. And it really telling to me, guys, that Celtic never actually publicly shared this article. They just left it on the website and never even tweeted it or posted it on Instagram or anything like that. So that tells me that the club was scared to share this. And that it's sort of been pushed through anyway. And you're right with the John Kennedy situation. A guy that's been at Celtic that long and has been a servant that long at the club should be recognised for leaving. I don't think it needs to be made such a big massive thing, but but as Reagan said, there'll be statements saying, thank you, John, for all your hard work over the years, much appreciated. Something like that goes a long way. So a really, really baffling week to me at Celtic, and this game on Sunday is pretty huge in their season already.
And then fast forward about 10 hours or something, maybe more, maybe less than that, and the Jack in the Box returns to Celtic Park as a Colgan Martin and a mega joking Monday night, Reagan, about do you think he would jump when Celtic scored? And yeah, I was right on Wednesday night. It took the Celtic fans back a wee bit, seeing them jumping up, but he get down very okay. Watching Wednesday night's game, Reagan, as you were watching the game, you weren't at the game, but it was like a breath of fresh air to watch a Celtic team passing the ball forward, moving it very, very quickly. And then on Sunday, they've got a big game against Rangers, so they go into on a bit of a kind of mixed bag, you would say, but a decent performance on Wednesday against Falkirk.
Yeah, I think they showed overall that they're a very good team at the moment. So, I think in general, I don't think Falkirk are what Celtic are thinking that they should be talking themselves about, but I think the whole place just needed a victory, Michael. I think Celtic just needed a victory in terms of trying to get the squad to believe in themselves again, because I don't think Brendan Rodgers, as much as he was a good manager, I think he didn't want to be there, guys.
So going on to Sunday's game, Reagan, what are you expecting? Obviously, 2 different managers in the dugout. It's going to be interesting to see Martin O'Neill there, Danny Rowe there. Yeah. So what's your take on that, Reagan?
My take is I think it'll be a very close game. I hope it's not as bad as the one on the 31st of August. I was actually in the airport, and it's probably the best thing for me, Michael, because if I was at that game, I'm just glad I was going off for a holiday, because I think I needed it after that, watching that game, because that game was awful. It was one of the worst games of football I've ever watched in my life. Both teams hardly created a chance, but I'm actually interested to see how to see how Danny Rowe sets up. Robbie, I mean, does he go? Does he play two up front in terms of Chermiti and Danilo? I'm interested to see, does Danilo's dad get a front row seat with the Union Bears as well? So it'll be interesting. There's a lot of things to talk about.
Aye. Regan, if I can actually just ask you a question quickly. I believe you were up at Celtic Park when Martin O'Neill was sort of coming into his first press conference.
I was there, Robbie.
What was the sort of, I'm interested in what the sort of feeling was like. I'm assuming there would have been Celtic fans up there. Was it a nice place, a sort of nicer place to be than it maybe has been the last few weeks, or was it sort of still the same?
Yeah, the atmosphere was very positive, very vibrant. But I think also, Robbie, from what I'm told, there's a feel like that was a kind of calculated move by the club. Whereas, because what I kind of get the feeling of, Robbie, is that potentially they could have appointed Sean Maloney as the manager, but they knew at the moment that wouldn't have went down with with the supporters after Brendan Rodgers' resignation. So Martin O'Neill said himself on Tuesday that he was phoned up on Monday at a coffee shop in London. He was having his coffee and he got a message from Dermot Desmond to say to call him because Brendan Rodgers had walked out on the club. So I think Celtic fans are actually happier that they've got a figurehead in there, but I'm glad that it's only going to be short term because no disrespect to Martin O'Neill, and he even acknowledged that himself. He said Celtic are looking for a younger type of manager, but yeah, I think the Martin O'Neill factor, Robbie, definitely did help on Wednesday night.
Do you think as well, Regan, on the back of Robbie's point there, when I heard the news about Martin O'Neill coming back, because he's a character to Scottish football, and I'm enjoying watching the press conferences already, even though his gig about free. But do you feel as though that was to get the fans back on side with that kind of like caretaker appointment?
Yeah, I do, Michael, because I said to you there that I do believe that if the fans were on side at the moment and the board was going well, that they would have appointed Sean Maloney as first team manager. I genuinely do believe that. I genuinely believe the only reason that Martin O'Neill is there at the moment is because Dermot Desmond knows that there's noise around the board and potentially this could take the heat off the board.
Yep, and also he was at the game on Wednesday night, Regan.
Yeah, he was there. I'm surprised he wasn't playing. He wasn't playing with Rory McIlroy on some American course. So I think hopefully he'll be more prevalent at Celtic games and moving forward.
That would have been the game for me, even with all the positives with Martin coming back. I know there's obviously been a lot about Celtic fans trying to make a real point to the board, and there's been a few sort of things gone about, a few statements that they've wanted to make at the game. So if you were ever going to make it, Regan, I don't know how Wednesday night unfolded in terms of that sort of stuff, but that probably would have been the night of day with them actually in attendance.
Yeah, I mean, Robbie, I was led to believe it wasn't just hundreds, it was thousands of fans that were there.
Yeah, outside.
Yeah.
Outside the game. There was a protest planned before the game, and there was thousands of fans kind of like outside. I think it was led by the Green Brigade and the boys basically as well. But what I was going to say, Regan, was I know I said to Robbie about the Motherwell and St Mirren game will be quite end-to-end. I think that this game on Sunday will be the opposite. I think it will be quite a kind of cagey affair because just because the way that both teams are playing at the moment.
Yeah, I think you're right, Michael. I think you're spot on with that assessment. I think both teams are pretty average. I'm not being derogatory when I'm saying that, Michael, but I just think both teams are not great at the moment, and I think overall, I think that's the situation that both of these clubs are in, because both clubs failed to recruit a manager in Rangers' case, and Celtic failed to recruit the best transfer targets possible. You even look at some of the treatment that they've actually done to Maeda, to Yang. I mean, if you go back to Maeda said in Japan that he packed away his locker, he packed away his Celtic stuff, and he was planning to move somewhere else. And then to be told, right, you're now staying. I think that is a bit amateurish by the club. I don't know if you guys agree, Robbie and Michael as well, but I think that's a bit wrong as well. That, well, obviously Maeda was told he was moving, and then the next thing he's told no. I think also the same thing happened to Yang at Birmingham, and Celtic actually told Yang to go down to Birmingham, and then he got transported back to Glasgow because Celtic couldn't agree a move for Yang to go down there. And the same happened with Adamida as well. I mean, Adamida, for a bit of context, he passed his medical at Swansea, and then Brendan Rodgers says that he's still a Celtic player. He's still at Celtic until Celtic bring in another striker. And the fact that Adamida was let go and another striker was there, that's probably another reason why Brendan Rodgers has left, because Brendan Rodgers said himself, not one striker can leave until another one's brought in. The fact that another one wasn't brought in, and then they had to go scrambling about trying to replace Adamida, when actually Celtic wanted another striker in top of Adamida.
Yeah, I think when you go back to the couple months ago when the season was sort of gone and we were looking at transfers and the deadline show happened, I think when you hear Rodgers at that point, actually looking back, I don't think it's a surprise he's left right now. And obviously, if results went differently, maybe he'd still be here. Who knows? But to me, with everything that was going on before the season had properly kicked off, I don't think anyone can say they're really surprised that Brendan Rodgers left the club. I mean, I personally thought it was going to be later in the season, maybe that he'd left or he would have seen out the season. But I'm definitely not shocked that he resigned right now.
No, definitely not, Robbie.
Good for listening to Matt and Neil today. And we'll talk about Rangers in a minute, Reagan. But he says, we are looking forward to this one. I'm excited. We're going into to win. But we need to be very confident as well. So yeah, I mean, he's excited but optimistic as well, Reagan. But how key would it be from Maeda to start the game for Celtic? Obviously, come on Wednesday night with 20 minutes to go.
Yeah, I think it is so important because Celtic have shown over the years that they can win these games, and all the big players now need to step up and show. Because it's so important. It's okay turning up against Falkirk and saying, right, well, Martin O'Neill's back, things are rosy, but it's okay doing it against Falkirk. You need to show up in the big matches as well.
Yeah, that's right, Robbie. I mean, they got a good win on Wednesday night, but as I always keep saying on the show and other shows that I do, like back up with other wins, and there's no bigger win on Sunday if they beat Rangers.
Aye, it's going to be absolutely massive. The question I'd be asking if I was a Celtic fan is how's Martin O'Neill prepared to combat Rangers and Danny Rowe. We're still very unsure really of how Danny's going to line up. I don't think I'd be too far stretched in saying that. Obviously, it's the switch of formation against Hibs on Wednesday night. It's going to be interesting. I'm excited to see the Celtic lineup as well. I think it would be very harsh to drop Johnny Kenny after scoring 2-0. And look, absolutely no disrespect to Falkirk, but it's a game you expect Celtic to get through professionally, and they did. But you know, if a guy's scoring 2 goals, he's going to be pretty high on confidence right now. Maybe that's the wee boost they needed getting into this game, because let's be honest, guys, how many times have we came on the show and said Dyson's missed that 1-on-1 or Dyson's missed that 1-on-1 or he's missed that by chance? You know, if you're going to want a guy in a really tight game, as you say, Michael, I believe that as well. I think it's got the potential to be a really, really close game. If you're going to get 1 goal netting it, I think Celtic fans would maybe rather Johnny Kenny hitting the shot than Dyson Maeda, a 1-on-1.
It's funny when you talk about the game, guys, because obviously everything I've spoke about Celtic, Athletic, Rangers, because they're similar teams as well. And Rangers are kind of like lacking in confidence. Okay, they've got a few wins under the belt, you know, 3 wins and a big win on Wednesday night against Easter Road, but against Hibs at Easter Road, sorry. But both teams are very, very similar.
Yeah, because if you look at it, guys, I mean, you could probably say it was a pretty boring match to watch on midweek. And I think in terms of that, I think the most important thing for Danny Rowe at the minute, Robbie, is not about the performances, it's about winning matches. Because Russell Martin failed to win any of his first 7 matches in charge of Rangers.
Aye, Danny Rowe needed to beat Hibs at Easter Road, and it's something that he done, you know, but at the end of the day, who cares about the performance, you know? Rangers fans just spent the last 7 games watching Russell Martin try to play at the back, and it clearly didn't work, so I don't think the Rangers fans would, I mean, Danilo's dad certainly didn't care, didn't at the front row, but I think, you're right, Rangers need to focus on getting the results right now, and I think they will try and frustrate Celtic a bit on Sunday. I suspect that. I'm assuming James Tavernier's going to come back into action. He'll probably play for the start. But, you know, I think the question for me, guys, is more how are Celtic going to combat whatever Rangers throw at them rather than vice versa, because Rowe seems very brave to make decisions. He seems to know how to handle teams well. Say what you want about the way Hibs approached the game, but I thought Rowe and Rangers approached it really, really well done. Got the clean sheet, and I'd be asking how Celtic are going to go look at this game in terms of the way they play.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting because Celtic, as much as they've been bad this season so far, Robbie, they always seem to show up in the big matches.
Aye, the day obviously the last couple of weeks haven't exactly went as planned. I think there's probably a multitude of reasons behind that. You know, that's not me trying to make excuses for Celtic, because, you know, been far from good enough. But you're looking at this game, you know, there's positives Celtic can take for Wednesday night. For what I'm hearing, Sriracha looks like a very, very good player.
Very good.
Yeah, obviously Trusty's in there. He's probably built a wee bit more confidence up in himself. So it's got the possibility of being a very interesting game. I do agree though. I think it will be tight, and I'm just excited to see the 2 team lineups in this game as well. See what both managers have picked and what they're sort of going for.
Of course, Danny Rowe was talking today, and he said we are looking forward to the game. This is more than the game. So, Robbie, it's very interesting. He's only in the door 2 minutes, and he knows about the game already.
Aye, I mean, look, and Danny Rowe, it's so interesting. I think he's a manager that just seems to get it more than Russell Martin ever did, and you know, I think a lot of Rangers fans would agree. He's had a lot more experience than probably Rangers fans maybe thought. You know, he is quite an experienced coach at some high clubs, so you know, I think they'll be pretty pleased with what they've seen with Danny. I don't think anyone can blame Danny for last week away at Brann. That was him just getting in the door. I think he learned a lot of lessons for that, put them into use against Kilmarnock, and for what I watched in the Kilmarnock game, they handled themselves very well. And then obviously away at Hibs, they handled themselves very professionally. So Danny Rowe seems to have done his research and knows what's needed at Rangers, and if he gets a result on Sunday, it'll be absolutely huge.
So, okay, guys, score predictions. Robbie, Celtic against Rangers.
Yeah, I don't want to seem like I'm trying to copy my Saturday prediction, but I'm going to go 0-0 this time after full time and extra time. And unfortunately for you guys, I'm going to go Rangers to beat Celtic on penalties.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because Celtic's got a brilliant record in penalty kicks. So, Reagan, I know you're going to the game. We won't see you on Sunday. In fact, we'll maybe never see you again if Celtic wins the cup and gets to the final and all the rest of it. But what's your prediction for this game?
My prediction is that Celtic will win 2-0. I just feel like Rangers might get run over the top of in midfield. Um, as much as I like Raskin and Connor Barron and people like that, I just feel like Celtic's midfield might have the upper hand in this game. But I'm interested to see about who 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 actually position themselves to be in that final, because whoever gets through that final, it's going to be a very, very tough challenge against either St Mirren or Motherwell.
And I will go to a very, very tight game. There'll be goals in it. I think Celtic will just edge it on Sunday. 2-1, I'll say. So there you go, 2-1. Don't forget that me and Robbie will be on Sunday. After the game, we'll be on at 4:00 to look back on the Celtic Rangers game plus the game that Robbie's going to tomorrow night. It's Motherwell against St Mirren, so we'll be on at 4:00 after the Celtic Rangers game on Sunday. Don't forget, before we look ahead to the rest of the games this weekend, because there's football action on and there's championship action on. Reagan's going to Fahill on tomorrow to see another Glasgow derby. Might be the biggest one in Glasgow this weekend. I'm not sure.
Definitely is, because I'm going to be there. Definitely is, Michael.
But going by Reagan a pie because he likes pies as well. So subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're called the Scottish Football Zone. And if they don't like to watch us, why not? Because we're nice looking guys. We're not dressed up for Halloween, by the way. We just look like this way all the time. Well, certainly I do. And you can subscribe to our Spotify channel. That's what the name was. I forgot. I forgot that word there. Spotify, and just look for the Scottish Football Zone, and you can subscribe to our podcast as well. And you can subscribe to the Scottish Football Zone YouTube channel as well. So there you go. You have been warned. Okay, guys. There's another few games on this weekend, apart from the big semi-final. It is Hibs against Livingston. Livingston against Hibs tomorrow. And Robbie, when I was just looking at the fixtures, I was like that. Well, I wonder who Mikey's going to support in this game.
That's a big question, Michael. But I don't know about you guys, but I'm really, really unimpressed with both teams. I thought Livingston were going to be taking a few more points this season after teams I think they've lost 4 of the last 5. Hibs against Rangers again looked just like Gray was trying to play for the point for the whole game, and it's something that I don't think Hibs should be looking to do at this point. They've built a really good foundation of a team. They've got some really key attacking players. Obviously, you're a bit unfortunate with the penalty miss, but for me, Hibs just don't create enough when it comes to these big games, and it's something if I was a Hibs fan and I've spoken to a couple, they're getting a bit worried now about this about this situation when they face off against the bigger teams.
Reagan, what are you expecting from this game tomorrow?
I think it'll be a hard watch for anybody that's peering to watch it, but I think overall, I think both teams have shown promise throughout the season. But I think Robbie's right. I think both teams are no where I think they possibly should be.
Yeah, no, yep. Sorry, Robbie.
No, I was just going to say, I think David Martindale, but really disappointed with his team. You
Mm.
always got to count Livingston as being that team that, everybody, they're just going to pick up points here and there. And the last couple of results really haven't went well for them. So I think both teams maybe need a win as bad as each other. And I think Hibs saying that are probably in a better position than Livingston. Of course, Livingston are rock bottom of the league. But I think if Hibs failed to win this game, I think it would be more negative for them.
Yeah.
Reagan David Gray was talking about the game. He says going to Libby is always a tough game, but after Wednesday night we need to get back to winning ways. I never saw the game, guys. I know Hibs missed a penalty, but were Hibs the best team, or was it kind of itchy peachy?
It was
I
sort of, it was sort of itchy. I think if Hibs were a bit more braver, I would say, Robbie, then they could have had more from the game.
Aye, that's you actually hit the nail on the head there. I think if Hibs are a bit more braver overall in these big games, then they maybe get more points. I think if you look back to the Hearts game, they weren't very brave. There's a few people now that I'm seeing that are starting to maybe criticise David Gray for that. There does seem to be a lack of bravery for the team. There seems to be a lack of, all right, let's go and actually get the win here in the last couple of games, and then the Derby especially. I know it's at Tynecastle and it's always going to be tough, but these big games, Hibs just look like they want the draw, and that's it. They don't look like they want to ever push on and try and win. So it's something I think David Gray will need to sort out, because Hibs have got the players in there. They've got really, really good, talented players. So the fact that they are playing that sort of defensive shape will, I think, frustrate the Hibs fans.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, and as for I mean, Robbie's right. As for Hibs, they've been going no too bad up until, I would say, Wednesday night against Rangers as well. But I don't want to talk about levels in the game, but okay, I'm going to talk about levels in Friday night, because you go from that atmosphere in Wednesday night where I presume it was a full house in East Rogan. Rangers had that Scan Bing the goal, and it was full of Rangers fans, to go to Livingston on Saturday. So A, it's two different games, obviously, but B, two different atmospheres, Reagan.
Yeah, because obviously the Livingston stadium is everybody knows how notorious it is. They try their best, Livingston, to bring in as many supporters as possible, and obviously, hopefully they can sell out as much tickets to tomorrow to be at the match, because we want to see a spectacle. But as I said to you and Alex a few weeks ago, it must be so hard for them as well, because you look at so many teams that are close by, like Celtic, Rangers, St Mirren, Hearts, the Highbees, even St Mirren, Motherwell. There's so many teams that are close by to Livy that maybe they could slip through the net, I would say, Robbie, because a lot of people from the area probably do support the two Edinburgh clubs, and obviously Celtic and Rangers.
Yeah, it's not the nicest prospect, I don't think, but look, Livingston, I've always sort of considered, they build on what they've got, and they've always been so good at that in the Premiership. This season, it's building it slightly different. They've only picked up 6 points. Martindale's form will need to turn. We always talk about a guy like Martindale that some fans would probably say, Martindale's invincible at Livingston almost. Well, if results start going downwards still in a couple of months, there will need to be talks about maybe removing them for the position, because suddenly Livingston find themselves in a situation where they could be rock bottom of the league come Christmas. And I know a lot of people would have thought that maybe getting into the season, considering the circumstances with maybe the likes of Dundee and Falkirk coming up. But Livingston have just been so uninspiring since they came up.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think, well, to be honest, I don't know what we were expecting from Livingston when they come up. I think all we was hoping for is it's good to see David Martindale mourning again about Scottish football. I missed it last season. I thought I was the only guy mourning about Scottish football, but also Livingston are a very stuffy team, Reagan. So it doesn't matter if they play at home or away from home, St Mirren, Celtic, or Parkhead. They always come with the same game plan.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they actually recruited pretty well. Robbie, I think they actually did, because if you look at them, I think they've got some really good players in there, like Stevie May, Graham Carey, who was obviously a few guys at St Mirren, he played with St Johnstone as well, Danny Wilson. I think they've recruited pretty well, but I just don't know if maybe Martindale is possibly regretting going back to the style of play that served them so well in the Championship. Maybe he's thinking I should play so the sort of defensive football that they were playing maybe 5 years ago, Robbie.
Aye, and I think he's maybe been shocked as well with, the way other teams are playing. I know they started off where they got a point against Kilmarnock away and then beat Falkirk, but since this fixture, funnily enough, in the League Cup, when Hibs beat them 2-0, they've not really looked the same. I just wonder if maybe David Martindale's came up, seen some of the new managers that are in around the game, seen the way they're playing, seen the way, the likes of Hearts and other teams are picking teams apart, and Livingston have been the backhand of that. They lost 4-0 to Hibs a couple of weeks ago, so that it's it maybe has just sort of shocked David Martindale a wee bit. And look, no manager is insecure if results don't start turning for Livingston soon, then he will find himself near enough on the chopping block, because it doesn't matter how long you've been at a club or how good a servant you've been to a club. If you're not picking up results and you're bottom of the league, you will get sacked at some point.
So, yep. Sorry, Reagan.
No, I was just going to say, and obviously that job for life thing Robbie's talking about there, that can also be a dangerous thing as well. That people at the club can then be thinking, right, well, we can't criticise Davy because okay, he's got a job for life, but if he starts to go bottom of the table and things are not going well, I'm sorry, but he's put himself in the position of being manager, but he needs to be sacked if he's not doing well. It's the same if he's doing well. If he's doing well, then he needs to be rewarded. But also, if he's losing, you're not able just to say, "Oh well, it's David Martindale, so we're not going to sack him."
Aye, exactly.
So, score predictions for this one tomorrow. Livingston against Hibs, Robbie.
I'm going to go a narrow 1-0 Hibs.
A narrow 1-0, you said, yeah?
1-0 to Hibs.
1-0 to Hibs. Reagan?
I'm going to go a narrow 1-0 to Livy.
Ooh.
Well, I did say, guys, that it's very, very dark outside and it's Halloween and it's spooky and all that kind of stuff. And I won't sit on the fence, but I'm afraid I'm going to sit on the fence in this one, and I will say 1 each. So there you go. Okay. I don't know about you guys, but I class that as a kind of derby game as well. I don't know about you guys, but yeah.
It's the Mikey derby.
Yeah, exactly. Let's go to the other side of Edinburgh, and I think, guys, out with the big semi-final tomorrow night, I think this is the game of the day for me. Hearts against Dundee. Be interested to see how
dare you say?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Plastic Festival in Queen's Park's not the game of the day.
Okay, yeah.
Two good teams.
Yep. No, I actually forgot about that. But yeah, forgive me on that one. Maybe you won't, but I don't mind. I don't care. Hearts against Dundee. It's going to be interesting, Robbie, how Hearts will bounce back from Wednesday night against St Mirren, because St Mirren were the better team, I heard, through large parts of the game as well. And it's going to be interesting because you feel you've ex-managers or ex-players going back to the old team and winning or getting a point, i.e. Stephen Presley from Dundee. So what do you make of Hearts on Wednesday night, Robbie, against St Mirren?
Aye, that's twice now we've played Hearts, and I know it's been at home both times, but I've been really unimpressed with the way they've looked. Saying that, you go back to the game before against Celtic at Tynecastle, and you're probably saying the opposite with the way they handled the second half. But I think this is a big game for Derek. I think Derek's at a point now where he has found his best team, and that's why he's picked them the last 6 games in a row. But he needs to make changes. You found out on Wednesday night the team was gone.
Robbie, I'm just about to ask you that question. See, for me, Robbie, I don't think Hearts looked tired on Wednesday, but the eyewitness to Telfer, who then joined us on the show, he said the only kind of player he felt looked tired was Stephen Kingsley at the back, and obviously players on the back line of the Jambles, because he just felt like the sort of centre backs and the full backs needed freshened up.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I thought Hearts looked maybe tired, right? Well, maybe a bit flat during the game. I thought definitely towards the end they fell a bit flat. They did look a bit tired at that point. But this is a big game for Derek. He needs to probably make a few changes, as Telfa alluded to, and really, I don't think I want to use the word bounce back. I don't think that's the right word to describe Hearts right now, because they're in such terrific form that it's really a case of just keeping it going. I'm trying to take my bias at Munster supporting goggles off for a minute. It's not a bad point in Paisley. It's a really tough ground to go to. Dundee went to Paisley a couple of weeks ago, struggled, get beat 1-0. So, I wouldn't consider this a bounce back game for Derek. I'd say this is a game where he's got to just keep going in the right direction and go and get the 3 points against, as you said there, Michael, Stephen Presley, who'll probably look to try and haunt them. And Dundee have not looked, they've not looked sensational. Obviously, took the loss to Falkirk. Probably know what he wanted, and I'm just always so interested to watch Dundee right now, and they can play so well one week and maybe they're not at it the next, and it is so interesting. So it'll be a good game to come back for the football and watch and see how it turned out.
Sorry guys, I don't know if you heard me there. My laptop went off on there.
Yeah, I thought you had your woman beside you, and I know it's Halloween and stuff, but I was going to say Cracker Creek, but anyway, let's move on from that one. So you're back with us now, Regan, so that's good. But I mean, I was always going to be interested in terms of Dundee, because obviously they beat Celtic 2 weeks ago. And it was going to be interesting to see how they bounced back last week. They struggled last week at home, I think it was. Oh, no, it was away at Falkirk, yeah. And then they've got a difficult away game tomorrow against the League's Hearts.
Yeah, I think Stephen Pray's an interesting one, because we asked Stuart Murphy, who's on this show, Michael, we asked him on Sunday, and he's not really been impressed with the squad, to be honest with you. So I was interested by that. And he was actually wondering how they managed to get 3 points against Celtic. And I was thinking, that just shows you how bad Celtic must be, if Stuart Murphy's then wondering how Celtic managed to get 3 points. Dundee managed to get 3 points. I think Stephen Presley, I don't think the Dundee fans are really buying into him. I don't know what you and Robbie think, Michael, but I just don't think the Dundee supporters are really buying into what he's doing. I hope for him that it does eventually turn around for him, but I just don't think that Stephen Presley was the perfect fit after sacking Tony Docherty.
He will never get the full backing purely because they sacked Tony Docherty, which was still to this day a really, really baffling decision. But yet again, on the flip side of that, in my opinion, Presley isn't as bad as people make him out to be. Stuart knows much more than us, and I think he has shown that he is quite disappointed in the squad. But at the end of the day, you look at the actual position Dundee are in, you look at the teams they've played and the points they've picked up, they're actually not in that bad a position. They have picked up some pretty decent points in this league so far. Obviously, I think the highlight, a couple of the highlights, Celtic, Rangers are the obvious, but like beating Livingston 3-2 is a pretty big result. The type of results they need. They drew with Motherwell as well. So Dundee have, I think they've maybe shocked a few people. I don't think they're doing amazing by any means, but they're picking up points here and there. So I'd say personally, I don't think Presley's as bad as people make out, but unfortunately, I just don't think ever get the backing of the Dundee fans fully because again the situation with Tony Docherty.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not actually sure because they got off to a good start. Remember when they went to Ibrox? Was it the first game of the season? And they picked up a point as well. And obviously, they've been up and down since then, Reagan. But obviously, they beat Celtic last week, and you can say what you want about Celtic.
I thought they were fantastic against Celtic, Michael. But also, I think a big factor in that, as Robbie said last week, I think Dane Murray was the hardest man in the match. As well. I hope he's not watching, but yeah, I just I felt like Hearts, but I thought they really imposed themselves on the match. Robbie, I'm really impressed with Braga. I'm really impressed with Kararidis. Really impressed with. I'm really impressed with him. I'm also impressed with Benny Beningame as well because he's been a player that I've loved to watch for many years, and now he seems to be getting a full run in the team. Robbie, you spoke about the influence of Devlin. You felt like he was possibly the man of the match on Sunday, but I'm just so interested to see if the players can really are able to handle the pressure because as much as we talk about Hearts, now's the time for them to step up. No disrespect, but if you were to look at the Premier League just now, you'd probably say the best fixture for Hearts would be the Dundee at home. I don't know if you agree, Robbie, but I think if you were to say to any Hearts supporter or any Derek in terms of the manager or the coaching team, I think if you said to him, if there's any club you can play in the Premier League just now, who would you play? I think he would say Dundee. So I think that's a perfect chance for them to get back to winning ways. But also, Robbie, I was going to ask you, do you think that in terms of that midweek match, do you think it could possibly affect the Hearts trade, as I'm calling it?
No, I don't. I don't think it does affect Hearts. I think McInnes needs to look at this as an opportunity to maybe try out some other players. I think it is time he makes a few changes to the starting 11. They were looking a bit flat, and that's only natural with a team. You're not going to play the same team 30 games a season realistically. So at one point or another, you're going to fling some more bodies in there. But look, it's no surprise that the attacking force is just amazing. You mentioned the three players, Braga with arguably the best song in Scotland or in football actually, that's getting media plaudits right down in England and everything. You've got Shankland, Kazridis, as you've mentioned. The midfield, you're right, Beningame is amazing. I think Devlin's really, really good as well. So it's a Hearts team that have got really, really good players, but they need to balance it out. You need to make a few changes now and again. That keeps the squad, that keeps the competition healthy. It keeps the squad moving nice. And if they pick up another 3 points at the weekend, there'll not even be any talks about whether, in my opinion, Hearts are going to quote unquote fall apart, if you will. I think Derek's built a really good mentality into Tynecastle. I don't think one draw is going to, let it. It's not going to be a blip. Teams can draw games and still win a league, still unbeaten at the end of the day. So it's one of them where we'll just need to see how Hearts go. But you're right, Reagan. It's a game that if you were to ask Derek who he wants to play after being in Paisley, he's probably going to pick a home game against somebody like Dundee.
And also, I don't know if you guys saw this, but news coming out of Tynecastle today that Anne Buggs will take on a new title of.
I thought you were going to say Anne Buggs will take on the new role as manager.
Yeah.
Is Mike with a few drinks?
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. Anne Buggs will take on the title of President Wednesday steps down as chairperson at Hearts in December. But I mean, Robbie, we always going about Tony Bloom with his tactics for the rest of it. But Anne Burge, she's been doing a brilliant job there since she's been at Tynecastle.
Aye, this would be one of the moments where you'd love to obviously have Graham on to sort of give his thoughts on things.
I
Look, she's
don't think he's a great fan of her, to be honest with you. Spoke to him a
No.
few times. I don't think he pays tribute to her. But
well,
I mean,
look, at the end of the day, she done, I think, what needed to be done for Hearts, and I'm not going to pretend that I know everything about Anne Burge's time at Hearts, but Hearts have always been sort of heading in the right direction. Obviously, they had the season in the Championship, but I think things have always sort of went positive for Hearts. So she's taking a new role. I'm not too sure about the person that's stepping in, but everything seems to be going right at Hearts right now. So I probably safe to say that'll probably go well as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. And so, yeah, sorry, Reagan.
no, I was just going to say that I think this will be an interesting game, but also be interesting in terms of what kind of atmosphere is in the ground in terms of if it's still 0-0 after what, 60 or 70 minutes, because I think, of course, these supporters will trust the players and trust the manager, but the longer it goes, Dundee will start to fancy the chances, Robbie.
Aye, it does need to be a really fast start for Hearts. Like if Dundee get in at this game, that'll be a really, really big result for Presley, and one that I think is the type of results that you maybe need to stay up. And that is ultimately, for me, no disrespect to Dundee, but that is their ultimate goal. This season it needs to be stay in the league. So with games like this tomorrow, I'm sure they'll probably make it hard for Hearts, no doubt about that. It'll be a chance for Hearts to try and see if they can break a team down. And if they do that, there'll be no doubt in my mind, to be honest, Hearts get the result.
So I will go first in this game. I will go for a Desmond, as I say, 2 each. I will sit on the fence.
go.
Again.
You stole my prediction, mate. You stole my prediction.
Well, yeah, but you stole my prediction earlier on. We won't fight about it on. Well, we will if you want. But no, 2 each. I was going to say in this one. There's no point going to Reagan. But there's you've got about 5 seconds to change it if you want, Reagan. That's up to you, Robbie.
I'm going to go a convincing Hearts 4-0.
Oof. Cloudgate, Braga.
Aye, Braga all 4, just so we can hear this all.
Yeah,
I'll change my prediction and I'll go for a 3-1 win to Hearts.
There you go. It'd be funny if it was 2 each. Let's go to the last game of the weekend. Before we get to Reagan's championship game of the weekend, even it is Falkirk at the Falkirk Stadium against Kilmarnock, Robbie.
Aye, this was another interesting game. I think Kilmarnock fans were pretty disappointed with the way their team played against Aberdeen midweek. I think they just want to see a bit more, and after such a pretty positive performance, I'd say, at Ibrox, they weren't perfect, and of course Rangers won, but they showed glimpses of hope, so I'm sure they'll be disappointed after that. Falkirk obviously need to try and get back out of that game at Celtic Park. I don't think, if I'm being honest, it was ever going to go Falkirk's way. But before that, they were unbeaten in 3, draw with Rangers, 2 wins. So John McGlynn's been building a decent side, a side that's hard to beat, a team that's more importantly getting wins. If you look at Falkirk, Dundee, and Livingston out the 3 right now, you're really backing Falkirk to be miles clear of that relegation battle. So it's been good for John. These are the type of matches for me, guys, where you need, if you're Falkirk, you want to get the 3 points. You're facing the Kilmarnocks at home in your stadium. You're going to have the crowd behind you. You want to go and try and get the win here.
Yeah, Michael, and I just think for me, I think Falkirk will be too strong for Stuart Kettlewell's And men, I just feel like Falkirk are playing me a real swagger at the moment. They're playing really well. Obviously, they beat Dundee last week. I mean, that was some goal, Robbie. I don't know if you've seen the goal for the winning goal.
No,
I,
I've not
re-
seen.
I really enjoyed the winning goal from Falkirk.
No, I actually didn't see it, but I think Falkirk. Regan, I suppose you're the perfect guy to ask about Falkirk. Obviously, you watched them on Wednesday. I know it's a slightly different game. Gone to Celtic Park. What did you make of John McGlynn's team?
And they had a good chance in the first half. Michael backed me up on this. Whereas Michael makes a good save from the striker. But apart from that, they didn't really offer too much. I don't know if Robbie, in terms of every other match this season, they've had a real go at teams. But because when they go to Celtic Park, as Michael would say, they park 10 buses and they don't really express themselves the way that they normally would. You look at the match against Rangers, you look at the match that they played against David Gray's High Bees, you look at obviously when they played Dundee last week.
When they played, when they played Celtic last season in the cup.
Yeah, when they played Celtic in the cup last season, they were outstanding. I would probably say as well, Robbie, that they probably should have won that game, but that just shows you the strength and depth Celtic had at that moment in time, because Falkirk went 2-1 up at that point, Robbie.
Aye, and what I would say is, though, I think I said it on the show a few times, like, I think John's probably learned a lot for that game and probably doesn't want to risk being that open again, because, no matter how poor things or how negative things seem to be going at Celtic and Rangers, realistic they can pick you apart at any time. That's the type of quality you're dealing with. So, John probably went into midweek thinking, right, we'll try and make it a bit compact, make it difficult for Celtic, because, you don't want to be too open, but you start, the more goals you ship, the more negative your team gets. So, I think it's one of the results where John will just look to try and bounce back, and let's be honest, he's got a pretty decent game today against Kilmarnock as well.
I don't know about you guys, but I'm going to call this the Plastico Derby.
Yeah, the Plastico Derby sounds good to me, Michael. And I might as well go on and give my prediction for it. I think Falkirk will win 4-0.
Oh, I was going to say that. I'm on the kicking. Robbie?
That's a big result for Egan, but I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to go Kilmarnock to win 2-1.
Okay. What will I say now? I will. I don't know if.
Please don't sit in the.
No, I won't. It's too dark outside now. I will go. Yeah, okay. I will make a statement, and not as big as Dermot Desmond. Yeah. I will go 2-0 Falkirk. So there you go, 2-0 Falkirk. As well. A quick word on Kilmarnock, Robbie. Have you been disappointed with Kilmarnock under Stuart Kettlewell, or have they been quite decent?
I think they were decent, a few weeks ago. I think form sort of taking a bit for the worst. That home loss to Hearts really seemed to stump them a bit after a good couple of wins as well. So I think Stuart will probably be disappointed by the way the last few weeks have went. Don't get me wrong, they've played 3 tough teams: Hearts, Rangers and Aberdeen. That's not an easy schedule no matter what way the teams are playing. I think the Aberdeen game probably maybe deflated the fans a bit. That's the game where you want to go out and try and win. Aberdeen aren't exactly well one, they're playing brilliant football. So I feel like he'll probably feel a bit disappointed. He's got a chance to go make wrongs right against Falkirk, but it doesn't get much easier with a trip to Celtic Park after that. So he'll want to make sure he try and gets the points in these type of games.
Yep, no. So that's the last game on the Premiership. Let's go into the Championship, guys. And there's a cracking game tonight. Ayr United against Glenfermant. I'm looking forward to the game and looking forward to seeing 2 captains going to war, Neil Lennon and Scott Brown. If I don't know about you, Robbie, but thank goodness I'm not a fourth official in that game, because they'll get his money's worth tonight in that one. And then we've got the game tomorrow. Another the Glasgow derby of the weekend. Reagan's Packet Thistle against Packet Thistle against Queen's Park. And if you do see Reagan at the game, buy him a pie because he likes pies. And then we have got St Johnstone against Airdrie tomorrow. And we have got Ross County there away to Arbroath tomorrow, and finally we've got Racehorse against Morton. Sorry, that's Morton tomorrow. Robbie's second team. Right, guys, your game. Well, I don't know. This will be a wasted time asking Reagan your game of the weekend as well. But looking forward to tonight game, guys. There's something about it, as I said, Neil Lennon against Scott Brown. Reagan.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be Friday. It's going to be tasty, and I think Neil Lennon is building something special at Dunfermline. I think the pressure of obviously what he had to go through with Celtic, what he had to go through with Bolton as well. Don't forget. I think the fact that he's been told, right, you can build a young squad here, you can do, like you've got time on the training ground, you've got young players. I like that guy, Todd,
Andy Todd.
that plays for Dunfermline. And fair play to him, Rob, because I'm liking the goggles as well. I mean, that's a very good look from him, and it's fair play to him for showing people that okay, that he's showing people that you can do whatever you want to do, basically. So fair play to him because he does score a fair few crackers.
Andy Todd, I was having a look at him last week after the Ross County game. Obviously, I think that's one thing you can probably praise Lennon on. He's built a team that show no resilience. They've got that never give up attitude, even after going 2-0 down so quickly. They still try and fight their way back in. Andy Todd's sitting on 7 goals and 2 assists. He's only 19. That's a brilliant figure for a guy playing in the Championship. He's got a really good future ahead of him, and you're right, Michael. It's a very, very big game tonight. 2 former Celtic captains going head to head. Obviously, Lennon managing Celtic. It's going to be really, really interesting. I'm excited. Both squads, I think they're both playing all right. Obviously, Dunfermline lost to Ayr United. Scott Brown's been kind of up and down this season. But when it's a Friday night game, it's going to be really, really good telly to watch.
And I don't know about you guys, right? But anybody watching can let us know, or maybe you and Robbie knows. I don't know, but what 2 former captains? I don't know the answer, by the way. I'm just asking you the question. I should have done this before the show, but what 2 captains played for the same team but came up against each other in either a Premiership game or Championship game? Maybe you can let me know in the comments, or maybe Robin Reagan kind of knows. But I don't think that's ever happened before. 2 former captains of the same team going up against each other.
Can't think of one, to be honest with you.
That's the point, Michael. But I'm going to make a wee joke here. That's what you should have done your research.
I know exactly. Yeah. And I should have spoke to you about that before the show, but never mind. But yeah, so if anybody can let me know and put that in the chat. I don't think it's been done before. I can't remember.
It probably has somewhere, but Michael, but where I would back you up there is, I wouldn't say that the 2 of them would be as high profile, Robbie, probably.
No, definitely not as high profile. Brown and Lennon are 2 really big characters, and it'll be interesting to see what the touchline battle's like tonight as well. See if they get into any heated arguments or anything on the touchline. But just to ask you guys a question, it's interesting, but we're also speaking earlier about the Celtic managerial situation. They're looking at a younger manager. Is there any chance that Celtic end up appointing Scott Brown out of this situation?
Robbie. I said this to you a couple of years ago. Celtic as a board would love to appoint Scott Brown as the manager, but right now it's not the right time. Not when
Yeah.
there's not when there's board trouble. At the moment, I mean, I heard today, Robbie, that they're interviewing Lee Carsley, the ex England and Republic Island manager. I think that's as well a very risky move because he
Mm.
doesn't know Scottish football. He's had a very limited coaching time, and I just think he's not got the. I'm not going to say he's not got the sort of. I don't know how I would say it. Not that he's not got an ego, but he's not got a sort of personality to be a Celtic or a Rangers manager. I think you need to earn it to be there, Robbie, and I don't think he's really earned it to do that. To be honest with you.
Yeah, I'd agree. I don't think Lee Carsley would be a very good appointment, to be honest.
Let's look at the game. I don't know if I've said this to you. Reagan's going to the game tomorrow, so buy him pies and all that kind of stuff. He likes selfies as well. But there you go. Packet Fizzle against Queen's Park, another big derby in Glasgow this weekend. And are you looking forward to this game, Reagan? Obviously, you've got to say yes because you're going to.
Should be good, Mike. I'm looking forward to talking to both managers as well and talking to both sets of players. So should be good. I mean, Partick first are playing well at the moment. They had a wee slip in form last week, losing 2-0 to Rave Rovers. But I think Partick first overall will be very, very confident. And obviously, you've got the Queen's Park end of the spectrum. They've now got Sean Crichton and Jim Duffy, who obviously has been well known in management as well. So that'll be interesting, Robbie.
Yeah, right. I was actually going to ask you how was it speaking to Mark? Obviously he's had a very good start. You mentioned the blip last week, but part of the team's going to go unbeaten 38 games a season and lose games. But I think, for what I heard anyway, he's got the character to bounce back for that relatively easy.
Aye, Robbie, he told me that he had to win matches pretty early on because he felt the pressure that probably his appointment didn't go down too well. So he felt the need to get off to a winning start because maybe his appointment wasn't the kind of personal appointment. But I think he's doing really well. I think, and he's got a really good brand of football. I spoke to Alex Samuels, the Partick Thistle striker as well, and he told me that Mark Wilson is great around the dressing room. He's great with the tactics as well, and he tries to play a great brand of football. And Robin, I think he's doing a good job so far, and I'm looking forward to a great match tomorrow. I think also as well, because he was sort of associated with Brechin, and also I know Gordon Dale kind of wind him up, but I think Mark Wilson has got a potential to be a very good manager, and I think he's proved that so far.
Aye, he's only is he 41, Mark? I think around about that sort of age. He's he's still got a lot of time left in the game. He's got after a very good start. You're right. I think there was a lot of pressure on the job when he took it. Partick fans were probably quite unhappy that the team's not really made a really big push to try and get back out of the Premiership. Also, there was a bit of heartbreak last season, but I think everything's gone well for Mark. I think he's got a really good coaching team behind him as well, a really good backroom team that everybody just seems to be getting along so well. And I think that's one of the things you need as a manager. You need your team unified, and I think Mark's doing that pretty well.
And if you, no, I was just going to say, Reagan, if people subscribe to the channel, you'll hear the interviews that Reagan will be speaking to Mark Wilson tomorrow after the game as well.
Reagan, we need to get you set up with a Beat the Pundit for Mark Wilson one of these games.
Yeah,
I've got the Beat the Pundit.
I mean, it would be great. I mean, Mark Wilson was always great on the Beat the Pundit as well, Robbie. But I was just going to say, please check out the Spotify channel because I will be putting that the audio from Mark and from a Partick Thistle player. So please do check that out on the Scottish Football Zone on Spotify. So all you need to do is type in Scottish Football Zone type it into Spotify and you'll see the interview there.
I won't be asking Reagan Robbie for a score prediction in this one because he might not get media access again. So that's all I'm saying about that one. Robbie, what about you?
Michael, I'm very neutral on the subject. I'm looking forward to a very good match. I think Queen's Park as well. They obviously are starting to build something new as well. So it'll be interesting to see them as well. So I think in general, Michael, I think it'll be a close game. But I think Partick Thistle will just edge the match. 2-1.
2-1. Robbie, what about you?
That's him trying to stay in Wilson's good books right there. But no, I'm going to go a draw. I'm going to go 1 each.
1 each. I will go 2-1 to the old Thistle as well. St Mirren against St Johnstone. Sorry, Robbie. St Johnstone against Airdrie. And I think the St Johnstone wheels just came off the bus a wee bit in the last couple of weeks, but are you expecting them to get back to winning ways at Robbie tomorrow at home?
Well, Michael, I actually had one of my mates who's also someone from sitting in the St Johnstone end when they went to Capello, and from what I heard, it was a brilliant performance for St Johnstone. You're right though, the couple games before that they maybe did take a blip in performance, and I think that's only natural. Simo Valakari demands a lot for his players and a lot for his team during games. So it's no surprise they're taking a wee dip, but if they win this game, they're just right back on track, aren't they? And you really do just fancy St Johnstone to take the league at this point, even so early on as right now. And I know a lot can happen, but St Johnstone just have that squad, they have the quality, they have the manager. I think Simo's a fantastic manager. I think he's got a long career, whether it's here or in another country. I think he really will go into the big things. And Airdrie are just. It's interesting. They obviously picked up a win against Arbroath, which is a pretty big win. But they'll need to, keep going and see if they can cause St Johnstone ruffle their feathers a wee bit.
And let's look at the other game tomorrow. Arbroath against Ross County, and also the last game is Raith Rovers against Morton tomorrow. That's the championship games. Busy show as always, guys. It's been a pleasure being on the show with Reagan again, and Robbie, good to see you back, mate. We'll do it all again on Sunday after the Celtic Rangers game. Don't forget, there's no show tomorrow. I'll blame Robbie for that one. There's no show tomorrow. But we'll.
Sorry, guys, I'm consuming a lot of alcohol tomorrow, so no show shall be held.
No, exactly, and a lot of alcohol before the game as well, I think. And after the game. So me and Robbie will be back on Sunday.
Robbie might be hungover. You might not get a show.
Yeah, I will try not and shout at Robbie on Sunday. Let's very quietly. So we'll be back at 4:00 on Sunday. To look back at the Celtic Rangers game and Motherwell St Mirren game. Don't forget, I'm on my soapbox here, so subscribe to the YouTube channel. It is the Scottish Football Zone, and subscribe to the YouTube, the Spotify channel, if you want to listen to us as well. Listen and watch us, you lucky people. Just subscribe to the Scottish Football Zone on Spotify, and also something else to look forward to in the coming weeks. I haven't got a date yet, but we've got a show coming up. Yeah. But we've got a show coming up on women's football. It's her Football World, and don't miss the first show, by the way, because we've got an absolute belter of a guest. I will say she used to play for Scotland, and she played over in Italy as well. So there you go. That's a couple of wee hints for you. So we'll have more details on that show coming up for you in the next few weeks. But yeah, thanks to Robbie, thanks to Reagan, and thanks for you to watching. And we will talk to you again on Sunday after the Celtic Rangers semi-final.
You're watching the Scottish Football Zone with all the build-up and reaction.